Okay, let's think about those conversations you kind of dread, right? The ones lurking on your calendar. Maybe it's giving some tricky feedback to someone on your team. Or you've got that client who's really upset, pushing for something totally unreasonable. We all know that feeling, don't we? Your chest tightens up, you can't find the right words. Or worse, they just tumble out all wrong, and then you're just sitting there wishing you could, like, hit a rewind button.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's exactly in those, high stakes moments that our source material has something really powerful to say. It basically says you can train yourself to respond strategically, not just react on impulse. The source actually calls this mastering smart replies. And honestly, it can be a total game changer for handling conflict.
Okay, smart replies. I like
Yeah.
that. And that's really our mission for this deep dive, isn't it? We want to pull out the
Yeah.
most important, like the most useful bits from our sources on how you can stay calm, stay clear, confident really when things get heated, giving you a bit of a shortcut to handling those conversations better. So, okay, you're in it, things are tense. What's the very first thing, like the foundation the source points to?
It sounds almost too simple, maybe. But it's just pause and breathe. But what's really fascinating looking at the research here, it's not just count to 10 like your grandma told you. That quick, maybe 2-second pause. It actually gives your brain, specifically the prefrontal cortex, a chance to kick in. It helps disengage that impulsive, emotional part, the amygdala. So it's this tiny window, right, where you shift from just reacting to actually thinking. It's like a little neural hack to stop you saying something you'll immediately regret.
A neural hack, huh?
Mhm.
Okay, so you take that breath, buy those crucial couple of seconds. Your brain's catching up. What's the next thing the source says is critical for keeping control? It mentioned something about clarity over emotion.
Exactly. So instead of immediately jumping back if someone says something that feels, rude or just confusing, the material suggests using these really quite powerful neutral phrases. Things like, could you maybe clarify what you meant by that? Or even, okay, hang on, let's just take a step back and look at this together. These kinds of responses, they do two things. One, they keep things respectful, which is huge. And two, they shift the power dynamic a bit. You're not just defending, you're
Yeah.
seeking information, guiding things, gives you space.
Seeking information, not just reacting. That makes a lot of sense. And building on that idea, once you're trying to get clear, how do you actually phrase your point without, making things worse? This is where the source gets really interesting. Talk about neutral phrasing, a great example. Something about interruptions.
Ah, yes, that's a perfect example. So instead of saying, you always interrupt me, which, let's face it, immediately puts someone on the defensive, the suggestion is something much more neutral, like, I'd really like to finish my point. Could I just complete it?
Ah, okay. So it's about your need, not their action.
Precisely. It takes the blame right out of it. Because phrases like, you always, or you never, they just invite an argument about the past, right? It doesn't solve the now. But focusing on your need, I'd like to finish, protects your space without attacking them. It keeps the door open for them to actually listen. Super important for keeping relationships intact, whether that's at work or, anywhere else.
That's a really smart distinction, protecting your space without attacking. And talking about avoiding conflict while still holding your ground, the source had another really useful tip, something about acknowledging before you correct.
Yes, and this is such a key part of emotional intelligence, isn't it? Say someone criticizes your work. Your gut reaction might be to immediately list all the reasons they're wrong. But if you start with something simple like, okay, I understand where you're coming from, or maybe I can see why you might feel that way, it just changes the whole tone. You're validating their perspective. Even if you disagree with the conclusion, it just lowers the temperature, makes them way more likely to actually hear you out when you explain your side, turns a fight into a discussion.
Okay, these techniques, pausing, clarifying, neutral phrasing, acknowledging, they sound great, really effective. But doing them when you're actually feeling stressed or angry, that's the tricky part. How does the source say we actually get good at this? Make these smart replies more automatic.
Yeah, that's the million-dollar question, right? And the answer is, well, it's practice. Deliberate practice. The source is really clear. It's not negotiable. You have to build those new pathways in your brain through repetition. So rehearse, role play with a friend you trust, or honestly, even just talk to yourself in the mirror. Practice responding to those trigger phrases, things like, you're wrong, or this isn't working, or maybe I didn't expect this from you. When you practice responding calmly and smartly beforehand, you build that communication muscle memory. It means you'll actually do it better when it counts. It's like, yeah, training for a conversation marathon.
Conversation marathon. I like that. Okay, so wrapping this up, what's the big takeaway for everyone listening? What does all this mean for navigating our daily interactions?
Well, the consistent message from the source material is this. Using these smart replies, it isn't weak. It's actually a sign of real wisdom, real strength. We live in a pretty noisy world, lots of defensiveness, loads of misunderstanding. And the person who can stay calm, think clearly, and communicate strategically, well, that's the person who really earns respect. They build trust. And ultimately, they just get better outcomes long term in pretty much every part of life.
So not weak, but wise. A really powerful idea. All right, here's a final thought for you to chew on after our deep dive today. How might practicing just one of these smart reply techniques, maybe it's just that 2-second pause or trying out one neutral phrase, how might that change a tricky conversation you see coming up this week?